A reservoir is most commonly an enlarged natural or artificial lake created using a dam to store water. Reservoirs can be created in a number of ways, including controlling a watercourse that drains an existing body of water, interrupting a watercourse to form an embayment within it, through excavation, or building any number of retaining walls or levees, defined as a storage space for fluids. Reservoirs may hold water or gases, including hydrocarbons. Tank reservoirs store these in ground-level, elevated, or buried tanks. Tank reservoirs for water are also called cisterns. Most underground reservoirs are used to store liquids, principally either water or petroleum, below ground. A dam constructed in a valley relies on the natural topography to provide most of the basin of the reservoir. Dams are typically located at a narrow part of a valley downstream of a natural basin. The valley sides act as natural walls, with the dam located at the narrowest practical point to provide strength and the lowest cost of construction. In many reservoir construction projects, people have to be moved and rehoused. Historical artifacts moved or rare environments relocated by Roman peoples. Examples include the temples of Abu Simbel, the relocation of the village of Capel Sullen during the construction of Lun Sullen, and the relocation of Borgo San Pietro of Petrola Salto during the construction of Lake Salto. Construction of a reservoir in a valley will usually need the river to be diverted during part of the build, often through a temporary tunnel or bypass channel. In hilly regions, reservoirs are often constructed by enlarging existing lakes. Sometimes in such reservoirs, the new top water level exceeds the watershed height on one or more of the feeder streams, such as at Llyn in mid-Wales. In such cases, additional side dams are required to contain the reservoir. Where the topography is poorly suited to a single large reservoir, a number of smaller reservoirs may be constructed in a chain, as in the River Taff Valley, where the Lun, Cantref and Beacons reservoirs form a chain up the valley. Coastal reservoirs are freshwater storage reservoirs located on the seacoast near the river mouth, to store the flood water of a river. As the land-based reservoir construction is fraught with substantial land submergence, coastal reservoir is preferred economically and technically since it does not use scarce land area. Many coastal reservoirs were constructed in Asia and Europe. See Mangwem in South Korea, Marina Barrage in Singapore, Kangkosa in China, and Plover Cove in Hong Kong, are a few existing coastal reservoirs, where water is pumped or siphoned from a river of variable quality or size. Bankside reservoirs may be built to store the water. Such reservoirs are usually formed partly by excavation and partly by building a complete encircling bund or embankment, which may exceed 6 kilometers in circumference. Both the floor of the reservoir and the bund must have an impermeable lining or core. Initially these were often made of puddled clay, but this has generally been superseded by the modern use of rolled clay. The water stored in such reservoirs may stay there for several months, during which time normal biological processes may substantially reduce many contaminants and almost eliminate any turbidity. The use of bankside reservoirs also allows water abstraction to be stopped for some time. When the river is unacceptably polluted or when flow conditions are very low due to drought. The London water supply system is one example of the use of bankside storage. The water is taken from the River Thames and River Lee. Several large Thames-side reservoirs such as Queen Mary Reservoir can be seen along the approach to London Heathrow Airport. Service reservoirs store fully treated potable water close to the point of distribution. Many service reservoirs are constructed as water towers, often as elevated structures on concrete pillars where the landscape is relatively flat. Other service reservoirs can be almost entirely underground, especially in more hilly or mountainous country. In the United Kingdom, Thames Water has many underground reservoirs, sometimes also called cisterns, built in the 1800s, most of which are lined with brick. A good example is the Honor Oak Reservoir in London, constructed between 1901 and 1909. When it was completed, it was said to be the largest brick-built underground reservoir in the world. And it is still one of the largest in Europe. This reservoir now forms part of the southern extension of the Thames Water Ring main. The top of the reservoir has been grassed over and is now used by the Aquarius Golf Club. Service reservoirs perform several functions, including ensuring sufficient head of water in the water distribution system and providing water capacity to even out peak demand from consumers, enabling the treatment plant to run at optimum efficiency. Large service reservoirs can also be